New to the Bible? Not sure where to begin? I got you. Let's simplify it. 5 things I wish someone had told me when I first got saved, and one of them might even surprise you. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a topic that can sometimes feel a little overwhelming at first, and that is how to study the Bible. I remember when I first became a Christian, the Bible felt like this, really big, complicated book full of stories I didn't quite understand. And honestly, I mostly read it in church because I didn't know what to do with even the information that I read. But over time, I learned some key things that made studying the Bible not only easier, but also more enjoyable and way more meaningful. So today, I want to share with you the 5 things I wish I had known about studying the Bible as a new believer. All right, let's go. Tip number 1, choose a readable translation. Start with a Bible translation that is easy for you to understand and is a joy to read. The Bible was originally written in Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek. So what you're reading today are translations. Some stick closely to the original wording. Others focus more on making the meaning clear in modern language. Now, if you were to ask someone, what Bible should I get? You're probably going to get a lot of different opinions, and that's expected. That's okay. Most people will recommend the one that they use and love, but here's my advice to you. Don't run out and buy what someone else likes. Make a list of those recommendations and then go and read random verses in those translations. See which one feels best to you. Seriously, this is going to make a world of difference. I once read a quote that said, "The best Bible translation is probably one you'll read." And so I think that's absolutely true. So choose one that feels smooth and it feels natural to read. Now, just a quick heads up. Some people are very loyal to one translation and would never ever consider any other translation. This is very common with those who especially like the King James Version. And again, that's okay. But don't feel pressure to use something that's hard for you to understand. For me, the King James Version isn't a smooth read because I get it the these, the thous, the thys always trip me up. So I personally, don't use it as my go-to Bible. So, just understand there is liberty in translations. Don't get guilted into buying something you're not going to enjoy. I do want to let you know there are 2 types of, really 3, but for the sake of this video, 2 main categories of translations. Those are the ones that follow, the thought for thought or meaning for meaning. And then there are those that are paraphrased. Be careful with the paraphrased Bibles. They aren't the same as the King James or the NLT. They don't really follow the thought for thought translation. They're not wrong to read, but they're also not meant for serious study. Why? Because paraphrases are typically written by one person, often without referring to the original Hebrew or Greek. So they can reflect more of someone's personal interpretation than what the text originally said. Here are a few examples of paraphrased Bibles that you've probably seen, in Barnes & Noble or at the, Christian bookstore. The first is The Message. The language in there is modern and casual, and the author actually says that it's not intended to replace the Bible. Another one is called the Passion Translation, and that one adds phrases not found in the original text. And then we have the Living Bible. It's based on an older English translation. So they took the English translation and then paraphrased off of that translation. Now, if you already own one, should you get rid of them? No, they're fine, for reading, for light devotional reading. And and they're fun. I particularly like the Passion Translation when reading, the Psalms or the Proverbs. Just don't rely on them for a serious study. Instead, some of the translations that follow the original language that are not paraphrased is the NIV, which is the New International Version, the NLT, the New Living Translation, the CSB, the Christian Standard Bible, the ESV, English Standard Version, and then of course you have your King James Version. Now, this is not an exhaustive list. This is just a starting point to kind of get you familiar as to what's out there. My personal favorites are the NIV and the NLT. I usually kind of bounce between those two translations. And so, again, just find something that you like. Now, something that you can check out online is BibleHub.com. It's an online resource that shows you multiple translations side by side. It's a great resource and super helpful. I actually enjoy using it often. If I'm going to do a teaching, I like to pick, one of the verses and then read the different translations. So when I'm just communicating or teaching, I try to find one that's very, casual and very easy for people to understand. But bottom line, finding a translation that you like and it's easy to read is the first step in making your Bible study more rich and more meaningful. Because when reading is smooth, you'll enjoy it more and you'll keep wanting to come back to it. Tip number 2, seek God, not just yourself. It's easy to approach the Bible with the mindset of, what does this mean for me? While personal application is important, the primary purpose of Bible study is to discover who God is, His character, His promises, and His history. When you look for God in the text, right, in Scripture, you'll find a deeper relationship with Him, and you'll have a better understanding of His love and His purpose for your life. It's totally normal to come to the Bible with our own needs, right? Our questions, our struggles. And yes, the Bible speaks to those things, but at its core, the Bible is first and foremost a revelation of God. When you read, ask yourself, what does this passage show me about God? What does it reveal about His heart? How does God want me to live? It's about knowing God first and letting that knowledge shape how you see yourself and your circumstances through His lens. We have now tip number 3. The books are organized by categories. The Bible isn't just one long book. It's a library of 66 books grouped by literary type, which basically means that they're categorized according to the primary content and tone of writing. In the Old Testament, you're going to find 5 main categories: law, history, poetry and wisdom, major prophets, and minor prophets. In the New Testament, you're going to find 4 main categories: the Gospels, history, letters, which is commonly known as epistles, and prophecy. And so I'm not going to really get into too much detail about these different divisions. I'll do a separate video and get more into the details of those books. For example, if you're reading Psalms, it's filled with prayers. Now, in the literary world, that is classified as poetry, and it's not meant to be read like a history book. And then you have, like, say, the book of Romans. That's actually a letter, even though we refer to it as a book. But it's a letter written to real people with real questions. Now, again, this might seem like a small detail, but knowing the different types of books in the Bible is going to help you understand the type of information you're about to encounter. Tip number 4, invest in a study Bible. This was an absolute game changer for me. A study Bible is like having a Bible teacher right there with you. What you're typically going to find in most study Bibles are commentaries, cross-references, book introductions with backgrounds, maps and timelines, and also a dictionary. What's really cool about a study Bible versus, say, a regular Bible is that if you come across a verse that you don't really understand, a study Bible will have tools to help explain it. Now, there are tons of great options out there. Just pick one in your favorite translations. Study Bibles are a great investment in your spiritual growth. They help you dig deeper even when you're just getting started. And lastly, we have tip number 5. The Bible we have today wasn't originally written with chapter, verse numbers, or paragraph headers. The texts were continuous scrolls and were later formed into books. Ancient Hebrew manuscripts, including the Dead Sea Scrolls, lacked the chapter and the verse division that are familiar to modern readers today. Chapter divisions were added around the 13th century. Instead of chapters, there were texts divided into paragraphs, which they call parashats, which basically indicate a change in thought or subject matter. And then the verse numbers were added around the 1500s. The paragraph headers that are included in some of the chapters, depending on the translation that you're using, they're added by the publishers. The chapter and verse numbers were added for the sake of organization to help us find things more easily. And personally, I'm grateful for those, because can you imagine just having a bunch of text and then trying to get everybody on the same page? I would imagine that would take too long. So some of you might be asking, big deal, why does that even matter? Well, because those breaks can sometimes cause us to misread or isolate verses. When we focus too much on individual verses, or, let's just say one paragraph within a chapter, we can miss the flow of thought and the broader message the author intended to give the reader. It's like reading individual sentences from a paragraph without really understanding the main idea. Now, again, this is good to know so that you don't isolate verses or chapters, within books. When you read, instead of grabbing one verse and assume its meaning, read the whole paragraph. Better yet, read the whole chapter or the whole book. Let the author's full thought unfold. When you read and a verse catches your attention, ask yourself, how does this verse connect to the ones before and after? Reading in context is absolutely everything. And so there you have it. 5 things I wish I knew when I first started studying the Bible. Bible study is a discipline, and when you have the right tools and mindset, it will feed your soul and spirit. So be patient with yourself, keep a teachable heart, and don't be afraid to ask a whole lot of questions. Why? Because God says in his word that if you look for him wholeheartedly, you're going to find him. All right, everyone, I really hope that these tips have been helpful for you. If something from today's video stood out for you, leave me a comment. I would love to read it. Thanks for watching. Until next time, keep those Bibles open, those hearts eager, and those minds curious. See you in the next video.